Welcome into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We appreciate you listening to the program. This is the second half of the program on this day, the 11th day of May. I'm here. Sky's here. What's wrong, Sky? Something wrong?
Oh,
you got
nothing.
that look
I
on
was just checking on your guest there. See, are they calling me or calling you?
I don't know. He's in my studio.
Okay, great. That's probably not him calling me.
No, he's absolutely
gonna bust over there and check
with
it
us. So my next guest, you're going to love this. You can probably see him. I've got him on the scroll here. Jay Mitchell is a candidate for Alabama's Attorney General's office. I've known Jay for a long time. Let me see if I can put him on the split screen, turn on his mic. Jay, welcome to the program. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, Scott. Doing great. Great to be with
you. Are
you?
you? Good. We've known each other for a long time. You used to help a lot of candidates and stuff. We became friends years and years and years and years ago. I haven't talked to you often, but you've been a Supreme Court justice here in the state of Iowa. I guess you are still.
No, I'm not.
No, did you resign?
In order to run for Attorney General.
Really? They won't let you still be on the court and run for Attorney General and then see if you win or not? Like we do everything else, they will?
Yeah. Under our state's judicial ethics rules, if you're a judge and you're going to run for a non-judicial position, you have to leave the bench.
Really?
Yep. So, and I'll tell you, I mean, we prayed long and hard about it. That was a real barrier to get over for me personally because I've got 4 kids. I got 2 kids in college.
Yeah, you got to pay bills.
One graduated Saturday and 2 in high school.
Right.
And so, you know, the idea of jumping in, leaving the bench, a job I really loved, to go and run for this was a little daunting at first. But Elizabeth, my wife, and I, we feel very much called to it. And,
right.
And made the leap of faith and jumped in, and I've been off and running for about 10 and a half months now.
Right. Yeah, well, so when were you first elected to the court?
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
I'd been in private practice before that for 16 years, courtroom lawyer in front of judges and juries, and then I ran for the court in 2018.
And so, was it just not what you wanted, or what you thought it was going to be,
I
or
loved
what?
I love being a judge.
Right.
Our state Supreme Court in Montgomery, it's the highest court in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
We handle the biggest, toughest, most complex cases that we have on both the criminal and civil sides. And loved working with my colleagues. Loved working with my law clerks. These are sharp young people who come out of law school for a year and work with me. And Justice Clarence Thomas chose 3 of my law clerks to come and clerk for him in Washington.
Really?
At the U.S. Supreme Court. So I think that's a testament to the quality of legal work we were doing there at the court in my chambers.
Right.
I've been having conversations with people the last few years about whether I might be interested in going to run for Attorney General in 2026. As your listeners probably know, it's truly an open seat this year. Our current AG is termed out, can't run again.
Right.
So truly an open seat. And I've had an interest in doing it. And the reason is this, when you're a judge, if you're doing your job right, you need to just handle the cases and controversies that come before you and really stay within the 4 corners of those. And you need to be above the fray.
Okay.
And there's been part of me kind of itching to be back in the middle of the fray. I spent 16 years in the middle of the fray, fighting for my clients, being in front of judges and juries, and so that had an interest to me. But I'll just cut to the chase and really tell you what clinched it for me.
Okay.
It was seeing President Trump get reelected in 2024.
Really?
Yeah. Watching the president, I'm a huge fan of President Trump, of his vision, his policies, his team. And that had a big impact on me. And I actually went up to Washington in January of last year for the swearing in of President Trump for a second term.
Okay.
And I was just really fired up in that moment. And I came home and I was talking with my wife, Elizabeth. I said, sweetie, as Christians, as conservatives, for our whole lives, we've been on defense.
Right.
We've been on defense against D.C., against the media, the culture, against a lot of the junk coming out of our colleges and universities.
Right.
But now for the first time in our lives, and I'll turn 50 in a few months, for the first time in our lives, we're not on defense. We're on offense.
Right.
And as she and I really reflected on that, what we came to realize was that we have a unique opportunity to get generational conservative victories in our country. Not just wins for the next 4 years or the next 8 years, but Lord willing, victories that our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids are going to be able to live into. And so after a lot of prayer and reflection and getting counsel from our pastors, we just determined we feel called. We feel called to the front lines of the MAGA movement, and we feel called to this moment. I think it's really, really important that we elect leaders in this next election in Montgomery, here in Alabama, who will go to Montgomery, who don't just wear the right party labels, who don't just say the right things, but who really understand the time it is in America.
Who believe the right things.
But believe it and understand the moment. The moment that we're in is unique. And we've got to have leaders who are going to have a sense of urgency, who are going to be high energy, who are going to be aggressive and going and getting wins for the people of our state and for our way of life.
How? Because look, I've run for office a number of times. I ran for Congress. I was very successful when I ran for the House and the Senate because I could go out and actually sit on people's front porches and talk to them and talk about their concerns and my vision, and we could find some common ground. Once it got to the point where you have to have television, you have to have all these things, and there becomes a disconnect, it would always frustrate me when I was running against people who I knew didn't really believe the things you and I are talking about. And I can remember a time, and I'm going to put you in this boat with me. If you're not with it, you can correct me. But years ago, we were trying to warn, or I was trying to warn people, hey, look, we've got to be solid on our principles. And people would consider, if you really believed in these things, you were just some sort of right-wing radical. And does that have any part in your desire? It sounds like it does. That, hey, look, the time is now. We have to do things. And frankly, we're kind of late in the fourth quarter when it comes to the republic. And it seems like we need passionate people who aren't just going to talk about these things, but really, really, really want to do the best things for the people and for our children and our children's children.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We are in a unique moment.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible talks about the sons of Issachar having an understanding of the times. We need leaders in our country, in our state, who have an understanding of the times. We know that the president does.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Coach Tuberville, when he's going to be in the governor's office, I think he's coming to it with not only the right principles, the right values, but also a sense of urgency. And he's going to need a great partner across the street from him who's helping him to get things done for the people of our state, for our way of life, and making sure we're doing all the blocking and tackling in the legal system. I think it's really important we've got somebody there in the AG's office who understands the moment, is going to have the right posture and mentality, and then knows their way around a courtroom.
Right.
I'll say that. I've got over 2 decades of experience in the courtroom on both sides of the bench. I was consistently ranked as one of the top courtroom lawyers, not only in Alabama, but in the United States.
Right.
Obviously, my work on the Supreme Court as a rock-ribbed conservative, as somebody backed law and order and backed police officers, that's definitely something that stands out as well. So we've got to have somebody there who gets all that and knows how to go get it done for the people of Alabama.
So is it frustrating? Because I've seen, look, I don't pay attention to a lot of the ads that are going on, but I saw something on social media where a guy who's clearly not from the state of Alabama was complaining about you in some fashion. What kind of stuff is happening? Because this is a long-form kind of interview, all right? You go on a lot of radio stations, you get 60 seconds, and you got to say what, I'm very conservative, I'm very good, and thanks for having me, and you're out of there.
Yeah.
But I want you to explain, what are you being attacked for? Is it a fair attack? Who's doing the attacks? And then explain what happened or what the true story is behind. Or you can say, hey, look, no, it's totally true. I did whatever, or I thought whatever. But I want to give you the opportunity, because I know in these statewide races, people say things with maybe a little bit of spin, maybe just a little bit off to the side. I want to give you the opportunity to do that when we come back. And I don't know how long you have, but I want to give you as much time as it might take. Scott, you want to go ahead and we'll go to a break. That way we can have Jay Mitchell on the other side tell us about that. You don't want to miss it. Jay Mitchell's my guest. He is a candidate for the Attorney General office here in the state of Alabama. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Well, welcome back to the program. How is that? Jay Mitchell is my guest. Making sure I didn't play any of that copyright music. What was that again? That was She's a Bad. Who is that? That song puts me to sleep.
Give me a little more. Which
She's
one?
a bad girl.
That's Tom Petty.
Crazy about Elvis. Tom Petty.
Yeah. What's wrong with Tom Petty now? Come on.
Tom Petty. Jay Mitchell is my guest. The running for Alabama Attorney General, was a Supreme Court justice here in the state of Alabama. He's already told us about the soul searching it took to leave there and how Alabama is. We're at a point in history where things have got to be fixed, where things have got to be better, and he believes that being Attorney General will help him actually fight that fight instead of waiting on issues to come to a state Supreme Court. And so many of our issues actually deal with the federal court system. And you said you have a lot of experience in the courtroom, and you actually understand the mindset from on the bench and being out in front of it, I guess. And kind of like the redistricting cases, I've said for a long time that I didn't think a number of the aspects of the Voting Rights Act were constitutional because they are applied unevenly across the states. But oh man, there were years that you couldn't even say that kind of thing. But what I wanted to ask you about, Jay, is all these campaigns become kind of nasty because attorney general's offices matter. And then you've been attacked a few times. I've seen some of them. I've seen the effort on social media to have people, even from out of state, go like, oh, look at this guy. This Jay Mitchell guy. He's running for attorney general in Alabama. Oh, he's a terrible human being. What kind of things are being said? And I want to give you the full opportunity to defend yourself and straighten out the story. We have thousands and thousands of people who listen every day, who talk to other people. They're very informed. People reach out to them and say, hey, look, who are you considering voting for? So I want to give you long enough on the mic to explain what's going on. Is it fair, unfair? Give us the real story.
Liberals and people on the left, they hate me. I'm just going to say it.
That's just it.
It's just it. They hated me when I was on the court. I took the SPLC and the ACLU to task for using the preferred gender pronouns in front of our court and capitalizing B in black and lowercase W in white. I wore them out.
Were they doing that in their in their arguments, the
Yeah.
papers they turn into you?
Absolutely, and I wore them out for it. And the left hated on me for that. The left hated on me because of the way I stood up for law and order and for police officers. So look, they've been after me for a long time. This is nothing new, and they're after me in this campaign. And I'll tell you, one of my opponents is backed by a lot of libs and a lot of people on the left. My opponent, Catherine Robertson, the vast majority of her money is coming from these out-of-state and D.C. dark money shell entities. These dark money groups.
Why would out-of-state? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I want people to. It bothers me when out-of-state entities say with their dollars, "Hey, we care about the attorney general spot in Alabama a lot." That's a question that should be answered.
It
Is
is.
Why does it matter so much to these out-of-state entities who the attorney general is in Alabama? Again, if y'all are really genuinely both solidly conservative, why would they not say, okay, they're both conservative, they're both, they're basically the same, we just go spend our money in California? But that's not what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, she's received, I think, almost $2 million from dark money. It's come to light that over $1 million of that is anti-Trump money, anti-MAGA money. She's also taken nearly $300,000 that we know of from an abortion mega donor in Florida, who loudly attacked our state's pro-life law back in 2019. Our state's toughest in the nation.
I don't remember any of the times I ran getting a lot of pro-abortion money from other states because I was so pro-life.
Yep. Look, this guy gave $250,000 to Planned Parenthood to build a new abortion clinic in Birmingham. People can go look this up for themselves. But I think it's very problematic. I'll tell you, Scott, let's be real, and your listeners know this. You're going to dance with the one who brought you.
Yeah.
That's who you're going to dance with. And who's bringing me to the Attorney General's office is the people of Alabama. 98% of the dollars I've raised are from right here in Alabama. It's individuals, it's families, it's businesses.
Right.
It's hard to raise money that way. I mean, it's a statewide campaign. You got to raise money to go up on TV and on radio to get your message out. But I'm focused on the state of Alabama because that's the kind of attorney general I'm going to be. I'm going to be for the state of Alabama, for our people, for our values, for our way of life. I will not be answering to anybody out of state who won't reveal themselves, who have some crazy interest in our attorney general's office. And I think you're raising the exact right question. What in the world do these people possibly want with Alabama's attorney general's office?
Right. No, that's a really good question. And so many times in these Republican primaries, Jay, and I talk about it on the show all the time, our listeners know, every Republican says the same things. Okay, we're pro-life, we're fighting for you, we're pro-God and guns and country and dogs, and we got a picture of us and a church and a Bible and a tractor and a shotgun, and vote for us, we're all the same. Sometimes they'll even say we're the same, just vote for me. And then all of a sudden these people from nowhere come up and pick one of those people, and you're like, there is a reason why they're choosing that person from all the other flowers that are right there in the field. It's because that one's a thorn. That one's a blackberry bush. It's not a tulip like all the rest of them. And I want people to notice that. Now, look, your opponents are free to contact me. Y'all's campaign reached out because this is a very successful radio program here in the state. And if they want to come on, but more power to them. But I will have to ask them about, hey, why would these outside entities be supporting you and not supporting Jay or another candidate?
Well, I believe Catherine has a duty to tell the people of Alabama who's putting this money in these dark money shell groups who are funding her campaign. They do not file reports with the Alabama Secretary of State's office. Let me tell you, Scott, 100% of the dollars I've raised and my other opponent, Pam Casey, has raised, 100% is disclosed with the Alabama Secretary of State. Only a fraction of Ms. Robertson's is.
Because you don't have to do that with this national
because they're
money?
using these very creative mechanisms to try to get around our laws to not register with the Secretary of State's office and disclose. She knows who's funding them.
Right.
And she should come on your show or some other show and tell the people of Alabama, these are the people who's funding it. And because she knows.
Right.
And if she doesn't know, that's worse, I think.
Right.
But she knows, and she should tell the people of Alabama who these are the people out of state who are funding me. And look, I'll just tell you, I'm going to be for the people of Alabama. That's where I've spent my time campaigning. That's where I've spent my time raising money. That's where I've spent my time just being with voters at chicken dinners and fish fries and doing all those things. I love it. I love being with the people of Alabama, and I love the people of Alabama, and that's who I'm going to be serving as Attorney General.
That's a very good point. So let's get to the part where, and look, I know it breaks some of the campaign rules, but they're attacking you, and I want you to kind of tell me what the real story is behind the attacks.
Which attack are you talking about?
Well, there's two or three. They start with, what was it?
I'll tell you one.
Okay.
So they started doing negative attacks on me, saying that I was a lobbyist or lawyer for the regime of Uzbekistan.
Yes. No, I saw that one.
Yeah. Well, it's a total lie. Miss Robertson and her team, Catherine, they know it's a lie. And we sent them a defamation letter and said, this is a total lie. The first page of the public records will demonstrate this, and they took the ad down. It is a lie. At no time did I lobby or was a lawyer for the regime of Uzbekistan. That's just ridiculous.
Are they bad guys?
Yeah, well,
I don't even know.
No, at the time, it was headed by a guy named Islam Karimov. His name was Islam, and he was a brutal authoritarian dictator. What happened was there was a family here in America. The husband had gone to Uzbekistan to form a political party to oppose that brutal dictator. The dictator had him plucked up off the streets, thrown in prison. They drugged him. They tortured him within an inch of his life. And the family asked us to get involved to raise attention and visibility on what was going on.
Right.
I did it.
So you were helping the people who were against the bad guys.
I was helping the guy who was for America and getting democracy and human rights, and I did it for free. I did it for free.
Oh, no, we got to stop on that. We got to take a break.
Yeah.
An attorney doing something for free, I'll kick you out of the bar. We got to take a break. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'm Scott Beason. We appreciate you listening to the show. Jay Mitchell is with us. He is a candidate for the Republican nomination for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama. Jay, I appreciate you being on with us. Let's move on. I know it's always I'm always interested in the things that are being said in campaigns, and we deal with some of those kind of things here on the show. But one of the things that's facing America, one of our big challenges, or two of our big challenges, are law and order. You know, are we going to be able to get our cities straight? And then also this invasion we have of Islam. I know you've talked about both of these, but let's start with law and order. A lot of people in the state of Alabama, when they think about law and order, they project out to, hey, well, we're not Chicago. We're not Washington, D.C., which has been cleaned up tremendously by the president, by the way. I think what the president did in Washington, D.C. and a few other cities have been great booms for those places. We've had our issues and controversies with blue dots here in the state of Alabama. And so what are your thoughts on law and order here in the state? What role does the Attorney General's office play? What's your vision for how we need to move ahead? Because we have some places that need to be, I mean, they're just not safe.
Yep.
And people try to pretend like, well, we can't. Well, let me be honest. I'm going to speak. You don't necessarily agree with me, okay? The Alabama legislature and other state elected officials are historically have been fearful of dealing with crime problems in our blue dot cities because as soon as they go in there, they're automatically called racist. Can't believe it. What are you doing? This is ours. And I mean, my position is I don't care. It's not your city or it's the state city, and the citizens there need to be safe so their children can be safe and they can live productive lives. And then there's always some liberal group complaining about, well, we don't have this kind of store, we don't have a grocery store, and we don't have this. Well, the reason is you used to. It's right there. I'll show it to you. And it's got iron bars on the windows, and that wasn't enough, so they had to shut the place down. That's why you don't have it. So my belief is we need law and order so that everyone can flourish.
Yep.
And so kind of your thoughts.
You're exactly right. We have some serious hot spots in Alabama. Birmingham, Montgomery, Bessemer, Selma, Pritchard.
Yeah.
I could keep going.
Right.
Even in some communities that are safe from a bird's eye view, have their own hot spots.
Right.
The through line, as you just identified, of many of these hot spots is that they're blue cities. Run by blue city mayors who are soft on crime and who do not back up their police officers when the going gets tough and their officers have to get on the front lines and take down a bad guy.
Right.
I tell you, I think we're at a point in our state. I think we've been at a point, but I think we're definitely there now where if these blue city mayors can't get it together and establish public safety for their citizens,
Right.
the state is going to have to step in a more forceful way. You know, Coach Tuberville's talked about sending in the National Guard to Birmingham and Montgomery. I support that.
Right.
I think we can do that in a strategic and precise way that will really move the needle in those cities and make a difference for the people who live there. Because, as you pointed out, there's some wonderful law-abiding Alabamians who live in some of these high-crime areas who just want an opportunity to raise their kids and go to work and earn a living. But look, I care about those of us who live around these areas too, because what
Right.
happens in these hot spots, it doesn't stay contained there. It spills out.
Right.
And it impacts the rest of us. You know, you look at the vet school faculty member down at Auburn this past fall who was brutally attacked and murdered while walking her dog on a Saturday morning.
Right.
That was a guy who came down the interstate from Montgomery. Anaya Blanchard. My oldest daughter was several years behind Anaya in school. We have followed that case very closely. That's a guy who came down the interstate.
Right.
So what happens in these hot spots spills out. We got to get on the problem. I think number one, we got to flex on these blue cities if they're not getting the job done.
Right.
And Coach Tuberville and we're ready to do that. Number two, we got to make sure we are backing up the men and women in blue. I tell you, I've written about this and I've talked about this. There's a war on cops in our state. We see innocent, good cops who are out there doing their jobs, following the law, following their training, getting prosecuted and convicted for doing it.
Right.
One I've talked about a lot is right out of Montgomery, Cody Smith. Probably the people in the Montgomery area remember that, but Cody followed his training, followed the law, was prosecuted, convicted. That case came to the Alabama Supreme Court when I was there. Amazingly, my opponent, Catherine Robertson, and her office were opposing Cody Smith and trying to keep him in Limestone Prison.
Were they really?
They were trying to keep him in there. I was shocked by what I read in the trial record, and we weren't able to give him the relief he was seeking at the time because there were some procedural problems. But I'm one of these guys. If I see something, I'm going to say something. And I moved over and I wrote an opinion saying, hey, based on my review of the undisputed facts, there's no way this guy ever should have been prosecuted, much less convicted. Well, after I wrote that opinion and it became public, Catherine and her office did an about-face and went and pleaded Cody out of prison.
Right.
Now, I found it problematic, and here's why. They made him plead to a felony. So he came out of prison.
So they gave him a deal. Hey,
They
we'll
gave him
let
a-
you out, but
Well,
you gotta
yeah.
plead to a
Catherine has said on the trail that he was wrongfully prosecuted. Well, why are you making a man plead to a felony if he was wrongfully prosecuted?
Yeah.
He came out of prison, didn't have his voting rights, didn't have his gun rights, had the stigma of being a felon, so it makes it hard to find a job.
It does.
And let me tell you,
He definitely couldn't be in law enforcement again, could he?
yep, right, exactly. And here's the bigger point. Here's the bigger point. When Cody was on the Montgomery police force around 2016 when this incident happened, they were in the 600s in the police force. After Cody was prosecuted and convicted, recruitment and retention of police officers in the Montgomery Police Department fell off a cliff.
Right.
And right now, it's in the 200s, if you believe the numbers coming out of the city of Montgomery.
Right.
That makes it worse for everybody. Certainly, it's terrible to drag an officer and his family through the legal system like that. And by the way, Catherine and her office could have stood up at any time and said, we're taking over this case. We're not going to allow this guy and his family to be drugged through the system. They never did it. They stuck their heads in the sand. I don't know why.
Just dodged
yeah,
the
and then
heat.
opposed him on appeal and tried to keep him in prison. So, you know, obviously it drags that officer and his family through hell. It decimates the agency, decimates the department, but it makes everybody in Montgomery less safe because you're not able to recruit police officers and keep them on the force, which means you don't have enough police presence on the streets
Right.
to go apprehend bad guys and deter bad guys. And that's why what you see happening in Montgomery in recent years, people fleeing, businesses fleeing, it's because crime's gotten so out of control because they don't have the police officers.
Right. Right.
You know, we see a similar thing that's happened in Birmingham in recent years. You know, I live in the Birmingham area, not too far away from the city, as do you, Scott. And I'll tell you, you know, what we've seen, 2024, we had an all-time homicide rate in the city of Birmingham. You know,
Which is saying a lot.
yeah, population has been declining very steadily in the city of Birmingham through the decades, sadly. But they had an all-time homicide rate in Birmingham in 2024. Now, they had a reversal of the trend last year. One of my jobs as future AG is going to be how do we sustain that trend?
Right.
How do we get police officers on the force? How do we make sure that we're really protecting the citizens of Birmingham and those who live around? But we got some serious high-crime areas in Alabama, and we've got to have an attorney general who's going to be there backing the blue at every moment. I did it for Cody Smith when I was on the court. I have called publicly, very recently. There's an officer in Decatur right now who's being prosecuted. It's a tragic circumstance, but there's no way, it's a guy named Mac Marquette. Your listeners can go read about him. There's no way this guy should be prosecuted, much less convicted. The AG's office is involved right now. Catherine could go to her office in Montgomery today,
Right.
talk with her boss, get them to take over that case and drop the charges against Mac Marquette. That's what I have publicly called for.
Right.
And that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that case.
Well,
but-
you and your listeners should go look that up. But this is a very unfortunate circumstance. We've got to have an AG who is not going to go be beholden or allow good cops who follow their training in the law to be prosecuted and convicted.
Right. Yeah, and you're not saying that you're supporting anyone but one who's gone rogue.
Exactly.
But those are super tough jobs,
Yep.
and people make split-second decisions. I always laugh about the people who are after the police officers. Go watch them at their kids' 6-year-old baseball game, and that person who wants the cop to go to prison for a split-second life or death situation will destroy a 16-year-old kid trying to be an umpire at a 6-year-old's baseball game. They will rip that person to shreds when there's, no life or death situation. But they just don't like police officers.
Yeah, there is a war on cops.
Yeah.
And, Alabama's not immune to it. I'll just say we've got to have an AG who backs the blue. I'm going to be that AG. I'm very fortunate. I've got great Republican sheriffs from all across the state who've endorsed me in this race. We have a coalition of over 40 police chiefs, amazing police chiefs across the state. And so we have got to make sure we're not allowing good cops to be prosecuted. And I'll add this one thing, Scott. I know we're probably up against the break.
We are.
I have I've said publicly, what I'm going to do when I'm AG, we're going to form a team called the Critical Incident Assessment Team. Whenever there is an officer-involved shooting, I'm going to assemble this team, great, experienced law enforcement leaders, to help me size up at an early stage where there's anything other than the law going on in a decision about whether to prosecute an officer.
People with experience, people who've been around it for years. Yes.
Looking at the dash cam footage, looking at the body cam footage, helping me to go ahead and get involved early. I am not going to stick my head in the sand and allow an innocent police officer or sheriff's deputy to be drugged through the legal system and maligned.
That is a great point. I'm going to ask you about one other thing. We got another break after this, but let's go to commercial break. Jay Mitchell is my guest. He's running for Attorney General here in the state of Alabama.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Last segment we have with Jay. He's a very, very busy man. And Jay, last thing I want to ask you about, one of the controversial things that's been talked about, you have made some very strong statements against Islam, the rise of Islam in our state, in our country. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to explain your position on that, what you're thinking, and so that people understand you're not being taken out of context. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's very important that we do not allow the conditions to be created in Alabama that would give rise to radical Islam. You know, look back just a couple of months ago, back to March. You had the attack outside the bar in Austin, Texas. You had the attack on the Army ROTC unit in Virginia. You had the attack on the mayor's mansion in New York. You had somebody driving a vehicle through the front of a synagogue up in Michigan. You've got all this radical Islamic terror. We don't need to be snowed into thinking that's just an up there or over there problem. We look at our surrounding sister southern states, Texas, Florida, Georgia. There's some real issues cropping up there. You know, very rapid rise of Islamic centers being created, mosques coming in. And we're seeing it in Alabama too. As I travel the state, I'll be up in the shoals. People are like, hey, we have an Islamic center coming in here. 2 new ones coming in North Shelby County, 1 coming in down in Dothan, 1 over in Anniston. It isn't just in our big cities. This is beginning to happen very rapidly. And what I've been calling for is we cannot allow the conditions to be created here. So I've come out with a plan, which we call Protect Alabama. And it lays out different points that we need to follow to make sure those conditions aren't created here. Among them are, number 1, making sure that our prohibition on Sharia law is being followed.
We have a law, do we not?
We have a law. They do in Texas too, but there have been efforts out there to skirt around that law. And so Attorney General Kim Paxton's had to get involved very aggressively to make sure that Sharia is not being adopted even in some of these private tribunals. So we got to make sure about that. I've also called for the state to pass a law that would allow us to designate domestic terror organizations. We've seen that in Texas. We've seen it in Florida. And what I would do is I would go ahead and designate the Council on American Islamic Relations, which has done a lot of terrible stuff to our country. The Muslim Brotherhood, Students for Justice in Palestine, which does a lot of the rabble-rousing and gets all this anti-Semitism going. And then, look, we got to follow the money. That's one thing where Ken Paxton has really been very aggressive out in Texas, is there's a lot of money all of a sudden flowing into Texas to form all these different initiatives and centers and everything. And what he's doing is he's stripping it back and saying, open your books. Where's this money coming from? Are these coming from Islamic regimes or those who are adjacent to Islamic regimes? And all of a sudden, they're retreating. So we got to make sure that we're doing a good job there. And then I'll tell you, I love the way President Trump and his administration are leading on this. You know, if we've got folks who are here who have been they weren't born here. Birthright citizenship's another topic, which we could cover another show.
I wish we had. Maybe we'll get together again.
But if you came here and you were naturalized as a citizen and you were aligning yourself with an Islamist regime or in a radical Islamic group, you should have your citizenship stripped. You should be denaturalized and you should be deported.
Why do you think? Look, I know you're a scholar, okay, or you wouldn't have ever have wanted to be on the Supreme Court. You study these things. You read about these things. The history of Islam, what Islam is, and I think a lot of Alabamians look at it like, well, they're just the Baptist. They're just Baptist with the thing on their heads. But it is different. The history of Islam is about conquest, and you can read in the writings and see that the goal is move into a new place. Stay centralized. Start your own centers. Don't let your kids, be out and be exposed to Christianity and all this kind of stuff. Stay centralized so that you can become stronger, and then everybody can watch each other and make sure you're staying to all the tenets. And then when an opportunity arises, you then flex your muscle and roar like a lion, I think is the statements. Why is it so difficult to get Americans to see that is what is happening, that is the game plan, and so many of our elected officials, other than you, don't seem to realize that that's the reality?
Well, I will say Coach Tuberville's been sounding the alarm, and I'm really thankful.
He has.
I'm thankful he's been sounding the alarm, and I can tell you he's got his eye on the problem, as do I. Look, this is not just something where you look to North Africa or the Middle East and say, oh, this is the stuff that happens over here. Look to Minneapolis. With the Somali immigration going on up there, the enclave that's been created, they're wielding real power up there. You look to Michigan and Dearborn in the area surrounding Detroit.
Well, I saw them in the streets of New York City.
Exactly. And you saw in Texas very recently, they're trying to start an Islamic city there in the Dallas area. Attorney General Paxton's been very aggressive about trying to push that back. He's meeting some resistance in the courts right now.
Right.
But let me tell you, that could very easily happen here.
Yeah.
What I would encourage your listeners to do, there's a book called Sword and Scimitar by a guy named Raymond Ibrahim.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Who's very closely connected with Victor Davis Hanson. He kind of marches through what you're just talking about there, Scott, which is this history of conquest, and especially toward the West and toward Christendom. And so I think that gives kind of the historical background on what we're seeing right now. But what we've got to make sure is, and this is why I'm so thankful for one of many reasons why I'm so thankful for President Trump, we've got to make sure we're controlling immigration correctly, that we're not allowing folks to immigrate here from parts of the world who are not compatible, do not come from a tradition that's compatible with the Judeo-Christian tradition and the founding of our country. And then if you are allowed to immigrate here, that you assimilate. I've heard it said, and I believe this is right, immigration without assimilation is invasion.
No, you're right.
So you have to have assimilation, which means also learning how to speak English. We've got to make sure that assimilation takes place in that way. And so I'm thankful for the way the president is resetting the table when it comes to immigration. But we in the states, our governor, our attorney general, the legislature, we've got to back the president up on this.
Absolutely.
Make sure we're calling a spade. And
we got
allowing those
about
conditions
45 seconds, Jay. Tell people how to find you, how to find your campaign, and then hopefully we'll get you in another time soon.
Absolutely. My website is www.jforalabama.com. We're on Facebook. Would love for your listeners to come along and follow us. And look, it's a busy campaign. We've got, I think, 8 days until the primary. Would love to have your listener support in the Republican primary on May 19th. Jay Mitchell for Alabama Attorney General.
Jay, I appreciate you being on. I wish we had time to talk illegal immigration, but we'll do that again. I'm sure you'll be around. I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate you being willing to run for Attorney General.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott.
We'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovery.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. We appreciate you listening to the show, and we appreciate you taking time to visit with us so we could talk to Jay Mitchell. The interesting conversation there, Sky.
Yes, it was.
The Jay's running for Attorney General, like I said. Something wrong? Where is that coming from, Sky? You got any idea? How about that? Let's see. Did that get rid of it?
I think so. That's better. Thank you.
Didn't even know that could happen as well.
I didn't either. That was interesting.
That's interesting. Now I need to check and make sure all the sound is coming from the right places. All right. Well, it is what it is. Okay. Jay's an interesting guy. I met him years and years ago. He did serve on the Alabama State Supreme Court. And one of the things that I can say about Jay, we were talking off the air, and I was asking him about different things, and one of the things I appreciate about his time on the Supreme Court is the issue I was asking him about, and he was like, hey, this is the way we ruled, and I said, well, y'all ruled correctly, and he said, well, because we ruled based on the law and the state constitution. Yeah. He said, that's what the state constitution says. We have that amendment, and it was refreshing to talk to a lawyer who says, it was the right thing because it's what the Constitution said. Instead of trying to figure out a way around it or whatever, Thomas Jefferson told us to quit trying to squeeze things into the Constitution and quit trying to squeeze things out of the Constitution. That's not exactly the words he used, but that's my Beasonized version of it. And that is what has happened in America for way too long. And back to our topic that we were having before Jay came on the program was this controversy about the Speaker of the House, Speaker Ledbetter, misspeaking about overturning the 14th Amendment, or as according to the articles, the Amendment 14. And then one of the opinion writers over at the old AL.cons that no one listens to anymore just losing his mind about it. And who reads the old AL.con opinion pieces? A bunch of, okay, I'll just say it. A bunch of liberal white folks. Black folks aren't reading that guy's pieces over at the old AL.com. And I would argue is most of them a bunch of liberal white women reading it. And I'm sorry. And they're just looking for, it kills me, some of these people who have some of this very, very pious attitude is usually they're in some very homogenous enclave / neighborhood, and they step down from on high to pronounce everyone else as being racist, homophobic, terrible, just mostly degenerate people, while they, sip their whatever drink it is that liberal white women drink at lunchtime. What do you think they do? At some of their little
soy
meetings,
decaf latte, goat's milk,
mixed with wine,
purple hair,
mixed with a good red wine at lunch, darling.
By noon, maybe, probably.
But let me go back to this. So from this article that was over at 1819 News, State Representative Gwendolyn Gavan, who I've always gotten along with, she defended me at one time when the old AL.cons and the old Birmingham News kind of groups were just letting me have it. So I've always gotten along with her. Do we agree politically? No. And she shared a picture stating that Ledbetter had called for overturning the 14th Amendment. It's all published. It says, outrageous. Alabama House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter calls for overturning the 14th Amendment. And then it has this, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Which, again, was to make sure that freed slaves were treated like everybody else in America. And what the 14th has been twisted into is a way to say that anything and everything that some group wants or likes or is fond of must be given to them because they want it. Scott, that's not what's happened. No, yes, it is what has happened. That's the same. This will be the wording that is used to fight against allowing radical Islamic enclaves in the United States. This is what is used anytime there is a fringe element that says, hey, look, we want to be able to do this. And the history of the United States will say, no, you can't do this. And they will run to this part of the 14th Amendment and say, you can't deny us equal protection of the laws. It doesn't matter what your history is. It doesn't matter what your tradition is. It doesn't matter what America has always done. And there are people out there who disagree with me on this. And I said it in the first hour of the show. The 14th Amendment applies to everything now. Can we agree on that? Everything. Gay marriage was foisted on the people of America, not because the people voted for it, not because their elected officials voted for it, not because we had a constitutional amendment to enshrine it. None of that. because the Supreme Court gave it as a right, created a right that was never there. There's no way George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Adams, no way any founding father. Let's go to the 14th Amendment. There's no way those Yankee congressmen in the 1860s said, "Hey, we got to pass this 14th Amendment because I got two guys down here who want to get married." There is not a chance in heck that happened, okay? They were never considering that. Well, Scott, that makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if it makes some people uncomfortable. And my proof of that is, what was the amendment, Sky, for ensuring the women's right to vote? Is that the 19th?
I think that is the 19th Amendment.
I get the one for the income tax mixed up with suffrage. Is that right?
You're correct.
19th.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the 14th Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Can't deny anybody, any person within the jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. That's the 14th Amendment. All right. Now let me get my math right, Sky. You help me with this. 14 is followed by 15.
That's correct.
Okay. And then 16
They're in
follows
order.
15, 17 follows next, then 18, then 19, right? So 19, since it comes after 18, means that 19 comes after 14. And we do our amendments in chronological order, right?
That's
So the 19th Amendment that ensured women the right to vote had to be passed. Why didn't they not just use the 14th Amendment to say that women could vote?
If it covers all.
That's exactly right. Now, the reason I like that is because when it occurred to me, and I'm sure someone else has made this argument, when this occurred to me, I went to some of my lawyer buddies when I was in the legislature, and their response was this. Complete silence.
Stunned. What?
Because even though they had studied constitutional law, no one had ever brought up, hey, wait a minute. If the 14th does everything, it's kind of like the supremacy clause. If the 14th does everything and covers everything and makes sure everybody can do whatever they want, how in the world did it not cover women's right to vote? So the people closest to the 14th Amendment, historically, there were still people around who helped pass that. They said, we need a constitutional amendment so that women can vote. Now, I'm sure some lawyers said, hey, what about the 14th? It's got that phrases, and someone rolled their eyes and said, that was about guaranteeing rights to freed slaves. I mean, everybody said that. It's in the record. What are you talking about? They had that squinched up face look. What are you talking about? You fast forward to modern history, and the 14th Amendment will let anybody do anything. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Welcome back in, everybody. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I appreciate you listening. We'll finish up this last thing, and then we'll get out to your phone calls. Some group called Indivisible Mobile, a South Alabama-based offshoot of the National Advocacy Organization, whatever, literally said this POS. Yeah.
I know what that stands
Yeah.
for.
I used to not know what that meant, by the way. I was like, POS, what is it? Preferred officer of the... I mean, I had no idea. I just didn't think that people write like that, but they do. This POS, Speaker of the Alabama House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, just said out loud that he hopes the Supreme Court will overturn the 14th Amendment. If everyone in this group, which is nearing 2,000 people, would make a phone call and send an email and send a letter, which could just be a few words on a sheet of paper, he would know what we think of that. He is also up for re-election, which might be one of the reasons he is so eager to mess with the midterms. Call, write, vote. Now, look, I've had my disagreements with Speaker Ledbetter, but POS? Really? And now here's the thing that gets me. They know what he was talking about.
Yeah,
and it
they're
doesn't
classy
and it doesn't
organization.
matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They just say
understand.
what they want to say because they need to make this about whatever it is. And don't forget, all these redistricting fights are about how many Democrats they can get in the United States House of Representatives and how many electoral college votes big blue states who have packed their states with illegal aliens and with people from other countries, and they cheat when it comes to voting. It's about power. And all this stuff about, oh my gosh, there's somebody being disenfranchised. They don't give two hoots about somebody being disenfranchised. It is about power, and it has always been about power.
You know, the Memphis seat in Tennessee
Yes.
that they're claiming, Jim Crow, racism,
Right.
leading the black voters. It's a white guy that's the Democrat.
Is it really?
Yes, it really is. You can't beat that.
You can't make it
Yeah.
up, can you?
No. So it kind of proves your point. There.
Well,
It's a white guy.
So the next step for those guys, when you're asking them, you're like, wait a minute now. But the white guy is a Democrat.
Right.
And
Which
only Democrats can speak for black
Yes.
Americans.
There you go.
At least we've been telling them the truth, haven't we?
Yes.
And
that
a
just proves the whole
black
theory right
Republican doesn't count as
they don't matter.
representation.
there. No, sir.
So it's
No,
all
they don't
fake.
exist. They don't exist in the Democratic
Can I tell
Party.
you something that's
That's
a secret?
disenfranchisement right there, sir.
I'll tell
of the
you a
black voter.
secret, okay? And I know this. And I would never out the people who've told me this, but they happen to be people of color. There are people of color, even in the state of Alabama, who have told me, hey, you know what? We'd be better off if the Republicans ran our city.
Admitted it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what they said? They said if that guy or girl told us they were going to clean up a neighborhood, they'd clean up a neighborhood. But we get told all these things every time by our Democrat leaders who never have any intention of doing those things and never really do what they told us they were going to do. But we just keep doing it because
Things keep getting worse.
We got to have a Democrat, and he really needs to look like us because that's all that matters. It's crazy. And they have convinced people. But I'm serious. I want people to be able to live in clean, free communities without fear. And we do not have that in some of our blue dot cities. There is definitely fear. Look, when my kids went to sleep at night, I fully expected for them to be fine when they woke up. And there are places in our state where you don't know because a bullet may come flying in your house from outside
It's happened.
and
right
hit
here in
somebody.
Montgomery.
Yeah, and it's just
child
uncalled
is,
for.
asleep out there in the South Lawn neighborhood. Bullet comes flying through the window. That's
Yeah.
it. She's gone.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, a few years ago, Republicans bowing down to liberal pressure, where we're going to change the way we do the prison system. We're going, we got too many people in prison. I don't care about that. If you're a bad guy, stack them in there like cordwood. White, black, Hispanic, brown, yellow, orange, red. I don't care. If you are a threat, go to prison. I don't care if we have to build CCOT. Send them to El Salvador as far as I care. But it was funny. We were going to have this. I wasn't there. This Republican, we're going to be nicer. We're going to get people out of prison. And you know who was down there talking against it, Sky?
Who's against that?
People of color who were saying, don't send that guy back to my neighborhood.
Imagine that.
Why are you letting him back in my neighborhood? But you know what? White people, white legislators, fueled by wealthy liberal white women, were like, oh no, look at me. I'm a better person. Think what they're doing. I'm a better person than Scott. I'm a better person than Scott. I'm a better person than all these radicals. I'm for sending criminals back into the minority neighborhoods. See how easy that is?
Yeah, it's easy.
They're not coming to my neighborhood. I'm going to free them and let them go because I'm nicer than you. How nice do you have to be to let criminals go in someone else's neighborhood? Yeah. And how whack do you have to be to think that makes you a good person?
You're getting way out there into psychedelic land.
Just like
the gymnastics.
Yeah.
I can't perform.
I used to think, for the love, please let him be drunk. Please let him be addicted to drugs. That's the only way you can think like this.
Well, they know best for everyone.
Yes.
That's the problem.
That's exactly right. Hey, look, that's why the federal judges live in the swanky neighborhoods. They don't live in the hood while they're making all their rulings. I want everybody to be safe. I want every little kid to have a future. And sometimes it takes people saying things that are uncomfortable. Do you know what? It's just like when somebody says, Scott, you got to lose a little weight, fat boy.
Who says that? Don't tell me. I don't.
And look, I don't like it one bit. But you know what? They're telling me the truth. And I know I need to. So it doesn't matter how my feelings feel.
Yeah, feelings aren't facts.
They are not.
That's something we seem to struggle with.
And if I can ignore it, I can feel good about myself while I'm hurting myself.
How does it go? You can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences.
They're coming. Exactly right. Hey, we got some callers, some good callers. Y'all stick with us. We'll be right back. Let me turn this off. Back.
Alabama Unfiltered Radio with Scott Beason.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering Politicians.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. Let's get out to some of your phone calls. Red Top, welcome to the program. Thank you for holding through our guest, and appreciate you listening.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed the interview. After hearing all the nasty commercials, it's good to hear somebody in person.
That's kind of what I thought, too. I appreciate that.
And I just happened to turn on TV Thursday night and scanned by Ion, and there was professional volleyball, women's professional volleyball. And I said, whoa, I know where Scott Beason is now.
Yeah, did you watch it all?
Right away. I said, well, I watched the game.
Very good. That was a good game to watch on Thursday.
Oh, it was, and I could never catch your daughter playing. Her name's Merritt, right?
Number 13.
Yeah, if you watched that game, you probably just
Number
missed her.
13, that's right. My favorite number.
Well, that was my daughter. She played really well that day and Saturday. And
I never could catch a game with her in it. You know, the the way they broadcast sports now is so wacky. It could be on any damn channel.
Oh, no, you're right about that. Yeah, so you're just saying you didn't catch it until Thursday. Yeah, no, I agree. It's we have to search for which channel or if it's on YouTube or whatever. But I was glad that Ion carried that whole tournament, and they did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture quality was good.
They did a damn good job, man.
Yep.
And these women are ferocious. They're big and they're ferocious.
Oh, it's
and
tough. It's
passing.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. One other quick thing: 2,000 honeybees. Okay, let me clarify that for you. My customer, he sends me a picture, and it's a hole cut in his ceiling, and I go, "Well, that's what you got black plastic up there for?" No, that was 2,000 honeybees in the biggest hive I've ever seen in my life, at least 2 feet by 4 feet long. The inside, and by the way, there's somebody who can take care of that here in Montgomery named the Bee Lady. She came and brought some containers and actually caught all the bees.
Did this happen over the weekend, Red Top?
It actually happened last weekend. They got rid of the bees, so, I'm the person that has to re-sheetrock the ceiling. But it's in a split-level home, and these bees and wasps really like split levels because they get in between those 2 floors.
Because one of my wife's relatives, you may be working for someone kin to us. Because they just had this exact story, and I don't know if they live in the river region or not. But when we were driving to or from Dallas for the volleyball stuff, my mother-in-law said, "You're not gonna believe this," and she mentioned the girl's name. She's like, "They just found like 2,000 or 20,000 bees in their house. They didn't know it was like between the floors or something." And you may be now. Look, I know it could happen a lot, but you may be working for some folks that are kin to us.
Well, ask your wife if Darby is their name. And he's a great musician. He used to work, direct the bands and all that kind of stuff.
I'll check on that. I'll let you know.
The thing about it, Scott,
Mm-hmm.
they showed me, they pulled out a piece of white honeycomb that hadn't been filled yet. And it was engineering. Talk about good little engineers. These little guys made, hundreds of these little hexagons.
Yeah.
Perfect. But what the problem was, the whole inside of the bottom of the second floor was covered with honey.
Well, the story I was told was that it had bees, honeycomb, and honey. This may be the same story.
And you talk about a sticky situation, buddy. And so actually, as it got warmer, the honey started running down the wall, so I had to put plastic up there. Come back a couple days later, and there's just drops of honey all over the plastic. And so I reached my hand on top of the wall. The exterior wall is about 1 inch deep in honey.
No way, really?
Yeah, but she kept some of it.
That's fresh.
And that honey tasted so good. It was so light and sweet. So
Really?
the best tasting honey I ever had in my life.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go back real quickly. I lost my faith in the Supreme Court before I was born. That's when they passed the income tax amendment. Then I don't blame the women for wanting the amendment of their own for voting rights, because they passed voting rights for black people, and it took them 100 years to be able to vote. Right?
Well, no, there were
Basically.
black Americans who voted. They were just free Americans.
Yeah. But, I mean, overall in the country, it took the Voting Rights Act to get everybody to stop all that stuff, which should have been stopped right away, but the government did not have the will to do it. That was a bad moral decision on their part. So the women probably smart say, hey, didn't work for the black folks, let's make sure we get it right for us. And then, thirdly, gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That completely shattered my ability to believe in the Supreme Court. They had no right to do that whatsoever.
That's correct. They made it up out of whole
fourth,
cloth.
Let's not forget Obamacare, guys. I was not about to go buy no damn insurance policies that the government made me do. They already have made me do it with my car.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that should be against the law. Why doesn't the government order everybody to have me paint their house? Okay, let's all get in the band.
That's
okay?
right.
It's the same damn thing. The only problem is I don't want to paint everybody's house. I don't advertise. I did it one time, and I'll never do it again, Scott. It was pandemonium.
Really? You had too many
that
people?
Many places at once. Oh, yes. I got on the business break in the morning at 6:40, and by 7 o'clock, my phone was ringing off the hook, and I said, I ain't never going to do that again.
Radio works.
I got nothing.
Yeah, radio advertising works, Red Top.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Be careful what you ask for.
It works
guys.
too good in some
Go.
cases.
Very good. All right, brother. Thank you. Did he say it all?
I'm going to have to add a roll tide, go Trump.
Forgetting him
Yeah.
too quick.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Clark. Clark, welcome to the program.
Hey, Scott,
Hey, Clark.
before I move on to Virginia,
Okay.
did you see about the elections in Great Britain?
No, I haven't looked at that. What happened?
All right, so that's something to study on.
Okay.
The Reform Party, not the Conservative Party, not the Labor Party, the quote-unquote new third party just outperformed both the Labor and the Conservative Party.
Is
Let's
this
look at that.
is this Farage's party?
Yes.
Okay.
We
How
have to
much
talk
did
about
they
it
did
right
they
now. Let's
outperform them
talk
enough to be able to run some of government without them, or did they?
1,500 seats.
Oh wow, that's pretty strong.
Yeah. So this business that we can't have a third party and it would never do, you can never win, yada, yada. If we had the right third party, it wouldn't be the third party, it'd be the first party. And study up on that, and let's talk about it later on. So, Virginia, Scott,
Mhm.
how blessed is America with the current state legislature that Virginia has right now? And I didn't misspeak. Now, I feel sorry for the people in Virginia. But we have a clear example right in front of anybody that wants to look space
Mm-hmm.
of how they will do if they ever get both houses and the White House in D.C. again.
That's a good point.
They will bum rush everything they can. Now, you saw where they got slapped down by the Supreme Court on Friday, correct?
Yes.
Have you seen what they want to do in response to that, Scott?
No, I have not read that yet. What do they want to do? So it went all the way to the U.S.
You're gonna
Supreme
say I'm
Court. Is that right?
making
No.
this up.
Wait. Were they struck down by the state Supreme Court? The state Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, and they can't appeal this because it's all state law.
Right. So it's not a federal
It's black and
problem.
white.
Right.
Yeah, so you know what the Democrat response is?
Pack the
They
court.
want to lower the mandatory retirement age to 53 so they can remove all 7 justices and appoint a new Supreme Court.
What if that Supreme Court says, well, that's unconstitutional?
Oh, it's in there. Yeah, no, it's in the Constitution that the state legislature gets to determine
Oh, wow.
the mandatory retirement age. So, they are Calvin balling this so badly, and everybody can see what they're doing.
Hey, let me hold you over, Clark, because I want to explore this a little bit. We got to take a break. Alabama Unfiltered Radio. I'll be right back.
Scott Beason, president of ARP, Alabama Recovering.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Alabama Unfiltered Radio. So Friday, I guess it was Friday, the 8th, the Virginia Supreme Court struck down a Democrat-drawn congressional map, ruling that the constitutional amendment they used in the state of Virginia, Sky, you know what they said? Which I always love, because they're like, oh, Sky. No, here's how it is.
Oh, it's because it was unconstitutional. I mean, look.
I'm not all about legal mumbo-jumbo talk. I want to know the why, the wherefore.
It's flat out misleading.
It wasn't the Supreme Court saying, hey, you can't do this, or, oh, these districts or whatever. What they said, which is funny, because Democrats caught themselves in a trap, okay? Because in Virginia, they have this pretty long early voting thing. And they when they're doing these, establishing these early votes, because we gotta be able to, we can't put everybody in a bus or in a van or shuttle them to election day when we're buying barbecues and stuff like that for people. We can't get all that done in one day. So we need to have early voting. So we can go through the neighborhoods and get everybody, then we can find out who didn't show up, and then who we need to bring, and who we need to pretend is Aunt Sally, even though Aunt Sally's dead already. We need to be able to do all this stuff, and it takes a long time. It takes a lot of time, so we got to have early voting. Well, part of their early voting had a intervening election requirement. Hey, we can't have a constitutional amendment we can't have an election if we've already got an election going on. Well, so when they started doing the early voting, they ended up with an election going on. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So it wasn't that the court said, hey, we don't like your districts. We don't like what you're doing. You've got a rule in place that says you can't do this. It was a procedural problem on their part, Sky. The law says you can't go out and do what you're doing because you passed the law to say you can't do this. And so now they're all mad at him. And this is what I don't understand. If I'm a leftist, why are you mad at these judges for following the rules that you put in place?
Because they behave like children having a tantrum and stamping their foot every time they don't get what they want.
They're like, well, you should have ignored our law. We've got a new law, and I want this law, so ignore my last law that said I can't do my new law because I don't like it.
To sum up, just ignore the law, Supreme Court.
That's exactly what they want. Isn't that what they always do? You either ignore the law, or you just make it up, or you squeeze, it's what you do. You squeeze something new out, or you just pretend something's not there. And now they're all mad at the judges for doing what, if the judges had ignored that to help Republicans, they would have been screaming at them for that.
Did you read the amendment?
Oh, the wording of the amendment?
Yes.
We're basically out to make things fair and give everybody's mom a birthday cake. I mean, it was like, the wording was unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought the amendments in Alabama were deliberately deceptive, but come on, Virginia.
Let's go back to Clark. Clark, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Scott. So, yeah, the way it's going to be if Democrats ever get national power again, it will be exactly how it is in Virginia, and there will be no permanent laws. The law will be whatever it needs to be to suit their needs at that moment.
No, you're
No
absolutely
rule of law.
right.
It'll be ruled by law, and we make the law up as we go along. Now, here's the really cool thing, Scott. Let's stay with Virginia for half a second. The racist redistricting and all these other southern states that have redistricted as racist. I sent you 2 pictures, Scott. I sent you a picture of Abigail Spanberger,
Yeah.
who I don't know what the melanin scale is, but if you dropped her by 2 points on the melanin scale, she'd be an albino.
That woman's
Could not
pasty.
be-
There's no doubt about it.
Could not be any whiter. Do you know what percentage of the African American vote she got in 2025? 90%.
Really? They're falling
90%.
off.
Now, I sent you a picture of Lieutenant Colonel Winsome Sears, United States Marine Corps. In Marine Corps parlance, Colonel Sears is a dark green Marine, okay?
Okay.
She got 53% of the white vote in the state of Virginia for governor. So, I'm sorry, Scott, it's not about race, it's about party. And all of these places where they're claiming racism, it's partyism that they have a problem with.
No,
Race
that
is
is
just the way
exactly
to
right.
find
Look, I said on the show, and I'll say it over and over and over, all these redistricting battles are about electing Democrats.
Yes.
It's all political party talk. The beauty of it is for the people on the left, the Marxist side, is they can pretend it's about race. They can pretend it's about electing someone who I mean, I don't know what looks like me. I don't want my representative looking like me. I want my representative to vote like me.
I haven't researched this, Scott, and I guess maybe I can do that. But I do recall from last week that 248 of our congressional districts are gerrymandered racially to elect Democrats, and there are 212 resultant Democrats in Congress.
Okay.
How many of them are African American? Are there 212 African American representatives there? I don't think there are.
No.
No, wait, I'm sorry. 122 as a result.
Okay.
122 as a result of the 148 racially gerrymandered. Yeah, I think they're underrepresented.
Even among
racially
Democrats.
gerrymandered.
Yeah.
Now they're all Democrats. But anyway,
Good
I don't
point.
know. The hypocrisy is just, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Look at the third party thing. I'm excited about that.
That's a good point. We'll have to look at what happened in England. Thanks, Clark. Here's that ballot question, Sky. So you go in to vote in Virginia, and it says, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness?
Fairness, you say?
Yes, fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census. Isn't that good?
That's a mouthful.
Who
right
can be
there
against
of
fairness?
Gobbledygook, double lawyer speak.
We'll be right back. Oh!